Hi, my name is Frank Alidemudia, and you are still on to my opinion on Cleveland TV. Cleveland TV in Diaspora is an online platform created to bring together Africans back home and in diaspora to celebrate and appreciate their successes, their businesses, achievements, and lots more. It is very important that you sign up with us today on www.cleveland.com. Thank you. Today we'll be discussing the state of the nation, Nigeria, and my guest is Mr. Celey Okogun. Mr. Okogun is the CEO of Novel Porter Communications, Nigeria. Mr. Okogun, you're welcome to my opinion.
Thank you very much, Franca, and it's great to be here. And thank you, Cleveland TV, for the opportunity and the honor of inviting me. I'm Celey Okogun, an advocate of good governance and credible electoral process. My friends call me optimistic Nigeria because I'm very confident about this country and that I know that will be great. That greatness will happen in my lifetime. However, on the flip side, I'm very critical of our leadership and the direction we are heading, which is sometimes people see it as being negative or unpatriotic. Yes, I went to school and I have classmates to attest to that, especially in a country where now, beyond the certificate, you have to show that you have classmates that went to school with you. So I went to primary school, secondary school, my first degree, second degree, and of course, my PhD in organizational management. For my day job, 8 to 9 or 8 to 5 o'clock, I'm a marketing communication expert. I rose to the very height as a fellow, and I founded Novel Porter Communications Limited, which is offering PR, advertising, media buying, and through the line communication across West and Central Africa. That is, the company is called Novel Porter Communications, which you just mentioned. Thank you very much.
It's all right, sir. Good to have you on board. Now, I'd like us to start with this. As a leader and owner of a business and as an entrepreneur, how do you define leadership?
Well, I mean, leadership from a point of view simply is influencing the commonality of people and the masses in a particular direction that provides opportunity for them and for the entire ecosystem. So from that point of view, it's about influence. So you have this leader, one man or a group of persons who then influences every other person that is in that group, who probably also know or may not know, but are able to then follow that person or group of persons to that promised land that everybody is looking forward to. So, and that has been missing in our own case as a country, where we have more or less every 4 years given our lives, put our destiny in the hands of leaders or those we thought would lead us to that great land that we have always expected that we would get to, and it didn't quite happen. So that failure of leadership is what we are experiencing in almost every facet of our daily life as a country. And for the kinds of things you hear every day, you wake up and they tell you 133 million Nigerians are below poverty level for a country that has been in existence for 62 years.
It's all right. Now, you've explained so far, and I would really like to know this before I go back to my next question. But what do you think is responsible for the failure in leadership in the country?
Oh, I mean, these guys, Bishop Matthew Kuka made reference to those who lead us. They are parachuted from somewhere. They are brought in parachute into the country, and so when they come, you know what a parachute is. You just drop from the sky, and they are neither prepared. They have no idea, and that was very evident from the military time. The military guys. Some of them were so young, inexperienced colonels who just, because they planned the coup, they became governors or sole administrators, as we used to call them. And that whole transition just happened. So even when we took over and we became civilian, we saw we had transition. The guys who took over, especially when I came of age. Let's talk about 1979, which was after the military, several years of military coup, and then we returned to democracy in 1979. That set was even relatively better. But even then, there was no real plan of how we were going to maximize opportunities that will give us a great country. And then fast forward to 1999, when we went back to that was the worst period. That was the disastrous set. And that is the penalty, and that is the debt we are still paying, because at that very foundation, leadership was a failure. And then the build-on effect was totally lost. And what you had today in 2021, in 2020, we are struggling with, is this a nation? Is this a country? Are we heading in the right direction?
It's been 62 years after our independence. 2 months back, we celebrate Nigeria as a nation at 62 years a nation. Now, let's explore the country, and then in terms of development and the leadership, and how the leaders have spent.
Yeah, yes, Nigeria, after 62 years, I will be very frank with you. It doesn't take, even in 62 years, half of that we should have had a great country. So how have we fared? We haven't fared well at all. Anybody who is my age and sees this country obviously will tell you that we could have done far better. In actual fact, when we started, things were a lot better. You probably had pipe-borne water in your villages. But today, you can't even think about it, even in the cities. Anywhere in the cities, maybe they have pipe-borne water in Abuja because it's a modern city, but go to any of these other cities, you will not even find pipe-borne water. And that's the list of the things. That's water, which is part of the MDG goals for measuring whether a country is developed or not developed. So when I say that 62 years is a long time, you would understand me. Genocide is worse than civil war, for those who don't understand. Genocide is pure hatred. Civil war is probably one side of the country fighting against the rest of the country. But genocide is much more intense in terms of hatred and anger. They fought it, and in 20 years they came out of it, and they rebound as one of the emerging markets in Africa. And everybody is talking about Rwanda today. Let me even go to Turkey. So say, okay, that's Africa. Let's go to Europe. Turkey is torn between Europe and torn between Asia. I had somebody that I knew in Turkey, a lady, she's only 29 years old, and she was telling me she never in her lifetime dreamed that she would have a country that is this exciting. And if you fly into Turkey, you will know what I'm talking about. Find what an exquisitely done, a well-taken place, a well-done country. Now, you can say what you like about President Erdogan in terms of how Turkey is run or not, but you can't take it away from the airport, from your access into the country, from the airline that they talk about. It's just so amazing. And I'm not sure that Nigeria is anywhere near that. We're still struggling with the basic necessities. Education, out-of-school children, staggering numbers of out-of-school children. Are you talking about healthcare? People die of very small things. Are you talking about wars that you don't even understand the genesis of them all? Are you talking about IDPs that the money given to IDPs and the goods given to IDPs are stolen? Nobody can account for that. So there are so many things we can talk about as a country in terms of the qualities with which you measure human capital development, and you know that we're just not there. Any one of them you take, the very basic of them. I'm not even talking about, when they talk about MDG goals, if you go to the September, you see that they are not talking about skyscraper. Nobody is talking about tarred roads or fantastic lane. No. They just want moderable roads that cars can drive on that are good enough. Nobody is asking for skyscraper. A roof over your head is what they are saying. Let's even have some basic accommodation that provides shelter for people so they are not under the bridges. And that is what we have not been able to do in 62 years as a nation.
All right. Most exponents have come up with a suggestion that Nigeria being regarded as a nation is not supposed to be like that, because we have diverse culture, languages, and all that. And most of the same exponents are positing that the reason why we are having lack of development in the country is as a result of the different diversity in our cultural languages. Do you agree to that?
You know, I'm not sure that diversity and having, I think they say 350 ethnic languages and ethnic groups in Nigeria is the problem. I think it's just sincerity of purpose, and then a leader who takes us in that direction. Maybe in our history we've come across one or two, but they probably didn't live long to be able to get that thing. Unifying people. We've always known about diversity. That's why diversity is part of our national anthem. So we knew that we were brought together. The fact that for whatever reason, whether it was for good or bad, the North and Southern protectorate were brought together. If you did that, you obviously knew you are not talking about a homogeneous set of people. Otherwise, if you wanted a homogeneous set of people, you would go for just the Northern protectorate. So, okay, all the North, which is called Hausa and Fulani, will be together. But you wanted none. Obviously, we knew that there was diversity. I think suspicion came into this country from around the time of when the motion for independence was moved, and we were to have independence in 1957, and the North didn't want independence, and then it led to a lot of tension, and there was booing and all of that in Lagos, and all the constitutional conference that were held. And of course, I don't want to talk about, because I always don't want to put my blame on the colonial master, but I know that the British capitalized on it, on whatever crisis was going on at that time, to divide us even more. But that point where everybody felt that, oh, we were ready for independence, and some part didn't want independence, obviously suspicion started into this country about, oh, these guys don't like us, or these guys that we are better than. And then that whole suspicion that was, if you like, latent and was a bit embedded, and wasn't that on the surface, blew open with the 66 school. With the 66 school, 1966 school, everything that people had said undercover in their bedrooms now came to the fore. Oh, you see now, oh, this was what these people did to us. This is what these people did to us. And that was where that whole disunity, if you like, and the various ethnic groups, or the whole gamut of those who made up Nigeria, started having friction. And since I hold us responsible as a people that we are beyond that. 62 years, we haven't been able, or even less than 60 years, from 66 to date, we have not been able to live whatever happened at that time, which is part of the reason that you still have reverberating even in 2022 or 2023 general election that is to come. So my point is that we are a nation if we have the right people to take us to that promised land. Now, the President Yar'Adua is not from the South, but he paid so much attention to the Niger Delta because he saw an issue in the Niger Delta. He could have ignored it and said, I mean, I don't really worry what happens there. I will find my resources anywhere I want to find my resources. But he said there is a need to deal with this issue because it relates to Nigeria. The oil that comes from the ground is what we use to maintain this country. So he dealt decisively with the Niger Delta issue. God bless his soul. And then he passed on. If we had 8 years of somebody trying to attend to certain issues that concern the country, and he says no, still come up in the north and say no, we don't want this to be like this. This is not the country we want, and put his foot down, and then we'll see that things will start. People start having much more impact and interest in this country rather than the way it is now. It's almost like every man for himself and God for all of us.
It's all right.
Yeah, can you hear me?
It's all right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Okogun. We'll take a short break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about restructuring in the country. Don't go away, please.
Hello there. Looking for an African movie? Search no further. Cleveland African Movies TV is here for you. We are dedicated to the acceleration of African films, TV series, documentaries, and lots more. Explore our movies at home or on the go. Clevenard Movies is free to watch on Clevenard.com. Don't miss this opportunity. Hurry now. Sign up and subscribe today.
Yeah, you're welcome back. You're still on My Opinion on Cleveland TV, and my guest is still Mr. Celey Okogun. All right, Mr. Celey, I want us to discuss extensively on restructuring and how it leads to development in the country. What are your views on that?
I mean, at this stage, we can't run away from restructuring. And I'm sure that if you follow the campaigns towards the 2023 election, some of the candidates are very clear issue of restructuring. Really, we can't run away from restructuring. I mean, this is my classic example for restructuring. I was lucky and fortunate to be in the BRACE Commission. BRACE Commission is south of Nigeria. BRACE means Bayelsa, I think Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, and Edo. BRACE, that's what it means. BRACE Commission. Now, those are the states that make up the South. And I have always believed that the South can actually be the Dubai of Nigeria. In fairness, there's no way, with all the money that we have, the oil that we have, I don't see why the South can be the Dubai of Nigeria. Of course, I mean, same issue of leadership that we've always talked about. But this is the point that I want to use to discuss restructuring. And I was saying, listen, it's so difficult to move around. As I was part of this commission, I said, it's so difficult to move around the South Side. Why not find a way to link this place up? Good roads, and of course, rail, which is obviously one of the fastest things you could use to just get around and all of that. Of course, we all know rail or transportation is under the exclusive list. So we'll have to wait for federal government before we can talk about getting rail in supposedly Niger Delta or the Brace states, as the case in the South, if I use the one that we are all familiar with. Now, and many other things that are, so we obviously do need to have some level of restructuring that allows people to have some measure of control for where they reside, whether as a state, whether as a region, whether as a local government, because that is the only way we can start to then feel that sense of, and people feel also that they are being held back. You know, this whole issue of we are waiting for, so I want to in South, but I cannot do rail because it won't be approved by Abuja. For whatever reason, Abuja will not approve. Then I have to wait. Now, and I'm saying to myself, that's almost like you are holding my hand. You are holding me back. You are holding my hand from eating from the food. While everybody is eating, you are holding my hand and saying you cannot eat until we are all full. You know, so those are some of the things, the pressures we are getting and the pushback that is saying we do need. And there are many other things. I just use that as an example where we feel that as a country we do need to have certain things that are freed up so that states, local government, and the regions can take care of them. But now that places will be protected, certain things will be protected, there's absolutely no problem about that. I mean, everywhere in the world that happens. Even in America, they have affirmative action which says, listen, certain people are being protected for what they represent or what they mean to us. You know? So you don't say that, of course, you cannot kill yourself, no doubt about that. But obviously, there are certain rights that are being ceded to you because you have this peculiarity of where you come from or where you reside. And that has nothing to do with, that will always remain. But that you are not allowing people to wait to move in their own direction until all of us are moving in the same direction. I don't think that is proper. So we do definitely need to restructure this country along whatever lines that we want to restructure it to. And there are very many conversations that are going on. Documents are there. In fact, every time you hear people say some of these things already exist. I mean, the issue of Nigeria, that's why we talk about in 62 years, some of these things have already existed. Those who know about the super permanent secretaries of those days will tell you some of these documents were even already in the documents that the super permanent secretary of those days had already put together. This is as far back as some 30 or 40 years ago.
Is it?
Thank you.
Is that I thank you so much. I would like us to bring diversification into it. Okay, diversifying the economy. Don't you think that one of the problems we have in this country is over dependence on the crude oil?
No, I mean, it's not even in anybody's interest. It's not even in anybody's interest for us to be over dependent on anything, because as a country, you are dependent on whatever. Let's say as it is today, or how do you grow? How do you even make? So even say money is enough for all of us. And you drill it and you take money is enough for everybody, and you take it to go and develop. Whereas they didn't have to wait for oil to develop their places. If they had other means of developing, some countries survive only on tourism. They don't have oil, no mineral, nothing, only on tourism. So diversifying the economy, diversifying the entire Nigerian space, it's totally on. And I'll tell you straight away that when you go abroad, you drive almost 40 kilometers, flat land, and you see farmland. How you just keep driving over farmland. That's the same kind of feeling you get in the north. You are there, you are driving for kilometers, 40 kilometers, all flatlands. Savannah. If you converted that to farmland, converted that to whatever, factories or whatever, you can imagine what you'll be producing. And in those ground, apart from what the land that I'm talking about, buried in there is all sorts of mineral, which has never been talked about. So we cannot be a mono economy. Definitely not a mono economy. And it's not just that we don't have the potential, it's there. We have almost everything, whether it's tin or gold. We may have gold in little quantity, whether whatever, columbite, anything that you want in Nigeria is this. So why should we all think that oil will save us? And of course, we all know what is happening to oil. Guys are moving away. We want clean energy. The world is moving to clean energy. So why are we so excited? Now, oil will be there. Nobody says that there will be no oil I don't think in my lifetime or in 100 years, oil will run or will not be there. Oil will always be important. But clean energy, unify your various means of getting your power sorted out. In most places, power is diversified. Some are using wind, some are using solar, some are using all sorts of technology to be able to get power.
But do you think Nigeria is ready for this migration? Because like you rightly said, in a very short while, we are going to be seeing a different turn on the entire universe. Okay? Oil might become... Yeah. Do you think Nigeria is ready for this migration? Because in a very short while, you're going to see our oil very, very useless in the market. Because the world will have alternative, just like you mentioned, the sunlight, the wind, and so on and so forth. So what can we start doing? What should the nation or the leaders start doing to meet up with the demand of the 21st century development?
Okay. In the first place, you say, are we ready for this? Definitely, we are very ready. Most of the things that have grown and developed and exploded, some of the things that now put into our GDP, that made our GDP go so big, and we're bigger than South Africa, or I don't know at that time whether we're still bigger than South Africa now, over 450 billion, dollars as GDP at that time, So where do those figures come from? IT. Was IT driven by anybody? No. Young boys came together. Some people organized, business people entrepreneurs, investors took those opportunities. So people have done so well. The Nollywood, yeah, government may have come in after the thing had grown so big. Even then, those in the practitioners in the industry will tell you, we don't really feel the impact of government so much, you know. But Nollywood is booming and are taking on farther than any, even the Ministry of Interior Affairs could have ever done. Next to sport in terms of taking our name far is Nollywood. Now, so every other diversification talking about can be done by Nigerians. Now, what we have not gotten because of bad leadership is that support. We have never gotten support to be able to achieve that. And when I mean support, I know what I'm talking about. The stories about Korea, the South Koreas, the Daewoo's, the Hyundais, the Kias, and what's the other one? All of conglomerates were supported, were brought together, and there was the way that government made some kind of concession and deals with those companies to be able to develop the economy of those of the country that is involved. So government has not been able to aggregate that. You know that there was an attempt at Transcorp. I don't know how that eventually ended up. You know, I know that there were attempts to have business people come together, pool some resources together. Let's see whether we can go into some of these enterprise that could diversify the economy. I think that happened under President Obasanjo in his time. So my point is that are we ready? We are ready. Can we do it? In fact, we are more than ready. We are more than enough to do it. We have the capacity, we have the brain power, we have the zeal, we have the commitment, and we have the resilience. Never give up kind of mentality to be able to diversify and take our country to the next level. But are we getting support? No, what we are seeing is people's effort. Business people just taking their own chances. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll take another short break here and return quickly. Don't go away.
Hello there. Looking for an African movie? Search no further. Cleveland African Movies TV is here for you. We are dedicated to the acceleration of African films, TV series, documentaries, and lots more. Explore our movies at home or on the go. Cleveland Movies is free to watch on cleveland.com. Don't miss this opportunity. Hurry now. Sign up and subscribe today.
Yeah, you are still on to my opinion. And like I said earlier, don't forget to sign up with us on www.cleveland.com. All right, we are going to take a look at the state of our developmental ideas, again, in the country now, which is developing local content. Local content. In terms of developing local content, are we doing well, sir, in that regard? Do you think we are doing enough?
I didn't quite get that.
Developing local content, okay? Building local content. Do you think Nigeria, as a nation, as a country, that we have done well in that regard?
Yes. In actual fact, it's very good that you talked about this local content, because every time we hear about local content, we hear about local content in relation to oil and gas. And I think that local content should not only be in oil and gas. In actual fact, for us to take that whole, unleash the potential of investment and our creativity and our ability to be innovative, I think that we deliberately chase local content in almost every sphere of our life. Okay, it could be IT. So we are developing our own softwares and we are writing our programs that are Nigerian, like India was doing, Nigerian-based softwares and programs that are designed for Nigeria. And I think a couple of companies have taken that initiative across Africa to be. So local content, as you are saying, shouldn't even be reserved or restricted to the oil and gas. Now, the oil and gas have done theirs, and I know there was a reason and a need to do that. If we were producing oil, and the oil was coming from our land, and we said to Shell, teach our people, employ our people, and engage them and transfer their skills. Of course, everybody knows that nobody is ever going to transfer their skills to you or give you their skills. So you literally have to steal it or get it one way or the other. So, which was why that industry then decided, okay, so if you don't want to teach these people, we will insist that you teach them by ensuring we will have local content. They will do certain parts of your business. Your business, some of the businesses that you are doing, some of it will be done by them specifically, and we will train them to be able to do that. I mean, so there was a reason for that to happen in the oil and gas, and to be able to do that. But I am saying now we should expand it even in agriculture. Okay, in agriculture, I saw the boom in is it greenhouse? Yes, I think they call it. It's called greenhouse. You know, the boom is greenhouses and producing vegetables and lettuce for the supermarket chains that wanted fresh, green, the way you usually will have it abroad, and in some of these very developed markets, they know that you couldn't get that from our farms by the way the farms are cultivated and done, because it's very natural. The sun and the rain, you wait for the rain. But to have that quality of supermarket quality, as they say, you needed to have a controlled environment and a temperate environment to be able to do that, controlled by you in terms of what level of temperature and how cold it should be. And so greenhouses came, and of course a lot of people went into greenhouses, and they are producing and selling to some of these supermarket chains that especially the foreign ones that are in Nigeria. So, and that is for me a way of ensuring that content is developed locally. So I mean, the things that have been planted, they don't come from elsewhere. They are from here. They may be modified grains or modified tomatoes, but they are still what is available here that has not been modified to their fit. So, like I said, for me, local content can go on, and it should be expanded, and government should support us to be able to do that.
It's all right. We are talking about development, and you know, we all tend to like complain about the state of the nation, the state of the country, and all that. But do we agree with me that every local government makes up a state, and that a state makes up a country as well? All right. Now, what is the responsibility? What are the duties of the states and the local government leadership as regards development?
You see, unfortunately, I mean, because of the way we have undermined our federation and the Nigerian nation, as it were. The constitution is very clear about states and local government and the federal government. Very, very clear. And there is no ambiguity in terms of what they should be doing and what they should be taking care of. Sometimes you hear them fight over marriage registry, who is supposed to be collecting the money and all of that. But the constitution is very clear about who should be having those kind of responsibility. But let me even go to a much bigger issue. I think a few days ago, or even just 2 or 3 days ago, they are talking about voting on the new constitution, and they are talking about local government autonomy, and that they should be freed from the state. Well, I hope that we're able to get through with local government autonomy, but I don't really think that whether that is something that is as they say, should we be fighting over that? I think it should just be natural that if we have a federal government and is autonomous and does what it does, and you have a state governor or government and is autonomous and does what, why is local government not giving some level of freedom and autonomy? I mean, it begs the question. You are asking, you are federal, you are free, you do what you like. A lot of states are almost, the governors are laws, okay? So why is local government not in that frame of mind? From all the free control where there's not even, what do you call it, no elections or no leadership. The leadership are appointed by the governors in most of those states. And in places where they have elections, the elections are almost they're a huge joke. They're a huge joke, you know? I don't think there's any state in which is not 100 over 100. Maybe in Kaduna, Yeah, I know that in Kaduna there was an election in which it wasn't 100 over 100, but every other election that have been done in most states is 100 over 100. I mean, does that really tell you the story on the ground? No, it doesn't. So my point is, local government has got its role to play, and it is closer to is even closer to the people, which means they feel the pulse. They can. I'll tell you, it may be a joke, but if you go, that the local government chairman attends burials and weddings, which is where because that's the area he's going to be able to bond with people, to be able to meet those people. I mean, if I was in my village and I was doing a burial, I will expect to invite the local government to come, and I expect the chairman to, or at least send somebody to, and that is the connection that you were. That's so leadership can grow. If I see the chairman of the local and tells me about what is happening in my state at the headquarters or capital of the state, and then he also tells me about Abuja, what is happening in Abuja, I can synchronize it, even if I were not interested in all that, saying that, okay, this is a man who has the heirs of the 3 tiers of government and is able to tell me what is going on. So my mistrust or feeling about that disconnect will not be that heavy. But once the local government is not there, is an appendage, it means that it will obviously relate to you as he feels deemed fit by what has been taught by the state. And that hasn't really happened. And I think that local government autonomy should be given and granted as the Constitution has already specified it. And that autonomy should not exist only in elections, not only in salary issue, or across board, in finances, in revenue. All those monies are coming from allocation. The way they go to the state, they should also go to the local government direct and let the local government be able to account for it. Now, I hear the story because I've also been involved in local government spade work. We've done some spade work on local government and trying to just see this thing. Now, I understand the story. No responsibility, no appraiser. They don't have any. No checks and balances in the local government. The chairman has very little, doesn't know much about what he's supposed to be doing. But whose responsibility? Party leaders. Whose responsibility that the chairman doesn't know what he's doing? Is because the party leaders have decided to put somebody who doesn't know his left from his right. That has nothing to do with, it's not the problem of the electorate. The electorate see what is put before them, what's on the ballot, and then they vote. So we have a responsibility to it, and which is why in some states now, we are seeing attempt and approach to see that the local government, whoever is going to go there, just cannot be anybody. It has to be somebody who knows what and can provide resources, can provide, grow the economy of the local government, and can improve the idea of the local government.
So I'll get back to that. But for now, I want also like talk on the allocations given so far to local governments. So how come even with the allocations, whether small or not, why have we not been seeing anything tangible at the local government level with the allocation being granted them?
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I said that no matter how we try to look at it, we agree that at least local governments get a bit of allocations, okay, to their constituencies, but we hardly see the impact of these allocations there. What are your views on that?
Oh no, I mean, I haven't done forensic audit in terms of how much money and how they get their money and how much money they have to do resources. But the sheer level of decay that you see across leadership is from top to bottom. In fairness, I don't want to say, is this thing. So I mean, you probably read my story on the state of the road in Edo State. You probably read that story, my post. I mean, so the question would be, when those things when the road was going bad, what could the local government have done? Well, you can say palliative. They could have at least done some palliative to ensure that they stop it from disintegrating into what it is. But more than the local government, it's a federal road first of all. But it's passed by the people from that area. So you should have been able to intervene to ensure that it doesn't really go that bad. But hey, how much resources do they have to be able to? For the ones for which they have resources to be able to do primary education and all of yes, you are trying to say something?
Yeah, let's look at it this way. You're talking about not having enough capital or funds to be able to rectify this issue. But look at it, for me, I see it from a point that the local leadership is supposed to be the bridge between the people and the presidency. Okay? Now, is it not the responsibility of the local leaders to take the matter to either the National Assembly or to presidency themselves so that allocation for this work can be given?
Yes. Okay, so it's the same thing we are talking about. So you talk about the bridge between the local people and Abuja or the presidency, as the case may be. But they don't even go that far by virtue of the fact that they are stopped at the level of the state governors. Okay, I don't think that there's any local government that has that direct, unless in the constitution now that we're trying to put together, that has direct access to presidency to be able to make his case, or even the National Assembly obviously have to go to the governor. And I know that most of those, their memos and the things they do are routed through the governor. Maybe even a lot of those things. If you write a letter and it's going out of the state to another traditional ruler in another state, for instance, a local government chairman is writing to the owner of Ife, I'm sure that it has to go through the governor's office. He said, oh, this letter is now going out of the state. We need to know what. So there's that level, the same autonomy thing that we are talking about in terms of what they do with their resources. But that they could have intervened in any of the issues that have come up because they are closer to the people. Yes, I agree with that. People talk about it. Especially in local government where they think that there's a lot of resources or some money to be able to do that. Yeah. But to just leave us in this state of decay, whether as federal, state, and local government, is totally complete failure of leadership. And there's absolutely no other way to describe it.
All right, it's okay. 2023 is just around the corner. We'll be making our selective leaders to represent us for the next 4 years. Now, what do you think the masses should be looking at in terms of choosing leadership?
Well, I mean, the electorate, there's no better time than now to start to look at the leader critically, to take their country back, to rescue their country, to bring back hope, whatever you want to, however you want to Christian it and describe it. Honestly, there's no better time than now. And 2023 is it. Because I can tell you, in my entire life, I have been hearing about stable electricity. I'm over 50. Stable electricity, I've been hearing about it in my entire lifetime. And I have never seen stable electricity. As we are speaking on this Zoom, I'm running a generator, diesel. So that's what I mean. If people don't understand that as the electorate and they are still thinking about whether they are going to be giving some incentive to go and vote, well, I have nothing. But let me just say, we've gone through several years since we returned to them, since 1999. We've gone through ups and downs. By 2023, probably be talking about 24 years of stable democracy in which we have had leaders every 4 years, 8 years, as the case may be. And this is how we have been. And every one of them had told us things will be better. And I don't think that things have been better. Things have gone even worse. Roads were not this bad. Electricity, I don't even know. So I don't want to say whether it is worse, because they will tell you, in Africa, I also did. They said they are 15,000 megawatts, and they can only distribute whether 2 or 4, and the rest is, what the heck? Who is talking about stranded? Stranded in where? Where is the remaining megawatt that you have generated is stranded? You know, and that is the kind of things that you hear, which is sometimes is quite laughable. You know, you don't have lights in your house, and somebody is telling you whether it's true or not that this is what they are doing. I mean, I'm not an engineer, I'm not in the technical field, but I know that I need light in my house, and I know there is no rocket science to get this thing done. Anywhere in the world, there's no rocket science. If you really want things done and you need to get things done, you will get the things done. But people who are not serious about it, okay? I mean, students were at home for eight months or thereabout. you see, apart from, I mean, I don't even see, nobody really made it. In fact, it was ASU that was making the protest. Before, in the late, after 8 months that the National Assembly started coming in. This is at the point where, listen, the National Assembly will shut down this country and say, we are not going to sit, we are not doing anything until this is resolved and these children go back. But nobody did that. Nobody cared. And they were there and they were basically at home for nothing for 8 months. And that's exactly what we have been saying about what leadership represents for us and why we think we need to just get it right in 2023. Have the people that we believe that can take us to that next level. We need to start the recovery of Nigeria from 2023. We are not going to achieve everything in fact, it's taking more than 40 years or 50 years to destroy the country. We probably, or do damage to what we are talking about. We probably need half of that time to be able to get it back on track.
It's all right. We'll take another short break. In fact, our last short break for today, and when we'll come back, we'll discuss 2023 and Edo 2024. Don't go away.
Hello there. Looking for an African movie? Search no further. Clevenard African Movies TV is here for you. We are dedicated to the acceleration of African films, TV series, documentaries, and lots more. Explore our movies at home or on the go. Clevenard Movies is free to watch on clevenard.com. Don't miss this opportunity. Hurry now. Sign up and subscribe today.
Isn't that you? Welcome back. Right. We'll try to analyze issue here as it stands and as it affects the nation. Now we'll be going over to election 2023. Okay, now, sir, I'd like you to come in here. What are your expectations for the presidential election in 2023?
Well, we have to get it right. We know that all the presidential aspirants have been going around and campaigning. We expect that as they make their pitch to the Nigerian people and tell us what they are going to do, we need to be able to scrutinize them, review, and look at those issues. And the issue of trust, because some of these things that the presidential aspirants are telling us, we've heard them before. There's none of them that we haven't heard. We will restructure Nigeria. We will do state police. We will do this and we will do that. In fact, subsidy that has sucked all the life out of Nigeria. There will be no more subsidy. We've been hearing that. I can't even remember how long I've been hearing the issue of end to subsidy. Probably close to more than the life of this administration. Even before this administration came in, we've already been hearing about ending of subsidy. Here we are hearing about. So who is going to do it among the 4 front runners in the race? Of course, we know it's almost like a 4-horse race now, as it's going to be in the election. And so you look at those people and say, listen, who is going to be able to do this for me? I mean, you can evaluate them based on what has happened before and some of those promises that are being made. Who is likely to be able to deliver on them? I'm hoping that at the end of the day, Nigerians will be able to vote credibly. I'm happy about the performance of Beavers, what he has done, the bimodal voter accreditation system has done extremely well. In actual fact, I'm sure that those who don't like Nigeria, who don't want us to progress, are uncomfortable about the level of success of that. One of the reasons why I'm very, very excited about the new INEC, what I call the new INEC, headed by Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. You know, the openness with which they approach most of these issues, whether it was CVR and people came in. So if the Beavers performs its duty on the day of election, people will vote their conscience and they will have the result published and then uploaded to the server. We would have some level of credibility to the election. And that's one of the things. Listen, it is not about whether the person is a criminal or the person is a good person. If I vote, I need that vote counted and the vote should reflect. It doesn't matter who, whether, I mean, if I use my clear conscience to vote a criminal, then I suffer the criminality of the criminal. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It has nothing to do with whether it's a sense or not, but let it be my vote. What has been happening before that we have not been very impressed with is the fact that they were imposing people on us. You vote your conscience and then they give you some other kinds of result, and that has been part of the what we didn't like. So we look forward to a great election. And I say to the electorate, listen, you cannot miss this chance to be able to take this country back and put it right back onto where we should be heading.
All right, lifting Nigeria from a consumer nation to a productive nation. What is the responsibility of our leaders? Hello, do you get that question, sir? Hello? 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 It's all right, viewers, we take a short break here. We will return.
I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. It's okay. I can hear you perfectly well now. I asked a question. Leading Nigeria.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right. My question was this: lifting Nigeria from a consumer nation to a productive nation. What is the responsibility, or what are the responsibilities of our leaders? Oh,
sure. I mean, see, we have a big market, and say what you like, that the British wanted a big country with a huge population. At that time, 90 million or thereabout that we were at the time of independence, you know, it's a good thing. I love a big country. I love to have great population. I don't want to be 5 million or 2 million population. Yeah, I love big countries. Like we have a huge. Now, that has not been converted to consumption that can push productivity. Let me give you a classic. That's what I call my classic. So, Innocent produces cars. And Innocent, of course, before Innocent, there was Amaco producing Mercedes in trucks in the East. So, I don't want to go far back, but let's talk about the ones that were used to all of us here. Produces cars in the East and is there. And I'm asking myself, what is the big deal? There's no need for, I don't see why any government, I don't even want to use Nigeria, because if I say Nigeria, now people will start to say, oh, why should I come from Taraba to come and buy cars in the East? I don't see why everybody in the South, or at least everybody in the Southeast and the South-South, are not patronizing Innocent. Who says the cars are the best in the world? Nobody says they are. They are the best in the world. All of us, we bought Mitsubishi, we bought Toyota when they were terrible. I mean, I remember campaigning with in almost 40 or 50 years ago, campaigning with a Mitsubishi van as the campaign vehicle. But can anybody try Mitsubishi today? Obviously, they had time to develop because that resources was there. So if Innocent had production for the next 5 years or the next 8 years, let's put it that way. Let's say the 8 years of the life of that governor, say, okay, Innocent has a production. That is, he has an NPO that allows them to produce for not just the state government, but anybody that was related to the state government in South, and Southeast. Think about that for Innocent, and you pay whatever times you want to pay. Whether how much expansion they will get, how much they will expand. How did Square or how did Pojo become produced almost everywhere in Pan started in Kaduna. They were producing this in Kaduna, but they were also making in Lagos. SCOA, they were producing the pickup vans in Lagos. And I don't know whether it was elsewhere somewhere in Rivers or whatever, I'm not too sure, but at least I'm very sure about Kaduna and Lagos. But how that came about was demand. People were engaging them, people were buying those products, and it was the only product. Even Volkswagen of Nigeria, how did they end up setting up a plant in Nigeria? It was demand. Kumbi bus was the only thing everybody was driving. And they felt that, listen, we can't be bringing it, we need to have a factory here. I don't know if you understand me. So if Innocent was producing cars and the entire South and Southeast were buying from him, I'm sure that from the time Innocent started to now, I'm telling you, he would have developed. Even with the scarce resources, now we have almost, what do you call it? Almost G-Wagon type of vehicle that they are producing, which is being used by the military. And I commend the military seriously. I mean, they call it federal government also, if you like, but the military, I must commend them for deciding that they must take that initiative to be patronizing somebody that was producing something. So that for me is the simplest way of describing consumption to production to consumption, consumption to production, whatever you want to describe it. So that is the simplest way, that you first of all, you make these things and they're seeing it. And we are also, we could have been buying them. They didn't even have to export. I know that, it's probably export now, but some of those things don't even need to be exported. I don't know whether we were exporting Pojo or exporting those Volkswagen Kumbi bus at that time. I never knew. But I'm saying we probably have enough people to buy them if those cars were available, and everybody was driving it. Now, I'm seeing this Suzuki all on the streets of Lagos. They are using them for Uber, those small Suzuki. And I said, but there's Innocent Eco. They should be the one replacing those Suzuki, as far as I'm concerned. But, I mean, I don't know about cost and all, but my point is that by the initiative of whether it's the government, as per giving them some kind of leverage and all of that, I expect that those cars, Innocent should be the one. And that's the simplest way. It can happen in tomatoes, it can happen in onions, it can happen in beans, it can happen in anything. And that's exactly where we should be talking about consumption to production.
Yes, sir. You leave us the last word for the leaders of the country. Number one, the youth as to make preparations for 2023, and then for those at the grassroots level.
Yes. No, the youth, they probably don't know how much power that they have. You know, before even the CVR, the youth were close to 60% of total population voting, but that's far more than that. They're probably close to almost 80 or so percent now in terms of the numbers that they control. If you put them all together, even if you reduce them from 18, who are just entering to around 35, but if you to 34, but if you expand it a little, you see how huge they are. But they don't know how much power they have in deciding our election. The president was elected with, is it 17 million or thereabout? Okay. And I think the runners-up was about 15 million. Put them together, you are still around 30 million or 32 or thereabout. Now, these guys have far more combined. If they all vote on the election, they probably even, they can override both of them, the 30 million for both of them, that combined from the two, the winner and the runner out. So that's the power that the youths have. But get them to focus and know that it is their future that is being mortgaged. And Ashoyinka will say that the thieves are gathering to continue stealing, and the masses are clapping and choking instead of doing something about it. That's precisely what the youths are doing. But I'm happy, probably in recent time, and they have seen, and they have really woken up. They are alive to some of the problems that has bedeviled this country. They also know that they have a duty, which is why we are seeing some of the reverberation of, in fact, they are so angry and passionate that they are willing to use their money They are willing to spend their time and money across board to ensure that things don't remain the same again. It is not even a question of I'm waiting for these people to come and give me money. No, they are saying I can't take this anymore. We've reached the end of 2023, and I hope that they get credible election that will give them that victory that they so badly desire and take their country back in 2023. So if that be the case, we are appealing to the youth. I hope that they sustain that momentum and they stay on that track and don't get discouraged by anything, and that they can carry that forward to election day. I tell you, you can't be too sure what will happen. The youths, because obviously they can actually also switch up so quickly. So if they sustain that till election day, I can tell you for a fact that we are going to have a great election.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Celey Okogun, for being on My Opinion this afternoon.
Thank you, Franca, for having me. Wonderful time. I love the show, and thank you, Cleveland TV, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, all right, viewers, we'll take, that is all we can take for the show today. And till next time, we will come your way with another guest on this program. I remain Frank Alidemi saying bye from here.